and welcome to Design Therapy. We welcome you from wherever you are in the world, wherever you're at, um, to join us on today's session. We are your hosts today. I am Keone Chong. This is Mary Gribbin. She's hanging out in the audience, and we've got Jose Caballer right there. We just want to remind you that this is an experience. It is an experience, and it's also an experiment. And it's an experiment in co-creation. We are here as a community, and we're building this together. And we're here because we're really exploring leadership by design. So we have this weekly broadcast, and we hold this broadcast because we want to empower the next generation of creative builders. Our goal is to redesign how the world works, to prioritize people over process and human connections over everything. We are the system. And, why is that jumping around? Funky, funky, funky. So today's episode is brought to you by Core Brand Strategy Foundations. What is Core? So Core Discovery is a simple way to help any brand understand, prioritize, and focus on a clear vision and a plan to help them achieve their goals. If you're interested in checking out a little bit more about Core, you can check us out at coresmagic.com. And as always, we invite you to like and subscribe. We want to continue bringing you this powerful content, and we're here for you. So let's review today's agenda. We will have the drop-in. We'll move into the download. We'll talk a little bit about this week's theme, which is design. And when we think about design, we think about the big D, design as a whole, design in all of the aspects of our lives. Whether you're a creative designer, graphic designer, architect, policy, like design just as a whole. Then we'll dive into the story share. And today, what we're really talking about is we're wrapping up this session, or the series that we've had around origin stories, around purpose, around designing our lives, and how to really kick that off. So yeah, we'll be talking a little bit about that. And then we'll move into the upload, which is sort of how we close today's circle. And then we end with music and no cookies, which is an open forum for just chat, connection, any random thoughts, concerns, ideas. So let's drop in. And the drop in is how we open our circles every broadcast. And it's your name, location, and a question. So today's drop in is to share an occasion when being yourself and telling your story helped get you a project. And so I'd like to invite a couple of folks on the stage to share. I'll model that for you guys. My name is Keone. I'm in Los Angeles. And an occasion where being myself and telling my story helped get me a project. That's a good one. Okay, here's one. I recently was had a product for an app called, what was it called? Mai Tai. I met the founder actually just through a party. He's a famous film director, and we had this incredible conversation about just the state of the Black diaspora, the African American diaspora, or the African diaspora in America, and the challenges behind connecting our communities and being able to really create creative synergy outside of the traditional roles of media development. He's in film. So if you're a filmmaker in Los Angeles, typically you have to kind of deal with the existing systems of building ideas, going through the process of getting financed, the whole nine. And in that conversation, I had some very bold theories that I shared with him. And he was like, yo, I like what you're saying. I've got this app that I've been working on. I want you to come on and help develop it. So that opened the door for me and the opportunities there. But I'd like to hear about some of the folks in our audience. So if anyone out there would like to share, I'd love to hear. We'd love to hear an experience about how your authentic self opened up an opportunity for work.
It wasn't specifically for work, but it was for collaboration or somebody who was really important in helping me grow the business. We had dinner with them on Wednesday. I was at a bar in downtown LA where it was a restaurant and bar in my building, in the loft building that I lived in. This is in 2003, 4, around there. And I overheard the people in the table next to us talking about some stuff about digital and about the web and about, with a lot of authority and a lot of pomp and circumstance of what they were saying. And I went over and I'm like, I just kind of turned over and I don't think I got up, but I just said, "Oh, you're totally full of bleep. You're totally wrong." And the guy's like, "What? Like, who are you?" And I'm like, and then I started telling my story and sharing my story. And he's like, "Oh, okay, got it." And that person is Barrett Morris, who's one of the co-creators of Core, and became our business partner and helped us grow the business exponentially comparative to what we were able to do it. He was really my teacher when it came to a lot of the business aspects, and a super awesome guy who's still here in downtown. So that's my story.
Thank you for that share, Jose.
Why is it a hard prompt for you, Cassie? I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
I always just think in terms of work, and I don't know if I really told my story in those situations, where I have gotten those jobs and that type of stuff. So I don't know. I think just being myself maybe has helped me get projects. Well, I know it has. But I don't know if I really share my story very well. So that's where I'm thinking about.
Well, we'll dive into this in a little bit, but I'd love to explore that. Definitely, keep thoughts on your write it down in a little note, because
let's change the prompt
a little bit.
Let's change the prompt here on the fly.
Mauro has his hand up.
I'm gonna change, but have Mauro. But here's what challenges do you have in sharing your story? What challenges do you have in sharing your story? Let's make that the prompt. But go ahead, Mauro.
Mm-hmm.
So should I answer the last question or this question?
Both. Yeah, both.
Okay. Well, hello. My name is Mauro. I'm based in Ensenada in Mexico. Okay, let me read the question. What challenges do you have in sharing your story? I don't really have a challenge in sharing my story. I think my specific story for the last question, I think a lot of it has to do with being authentic to yourself and just being, just being yourself. I interviewed for a job in Seattle, and I went through the entire process, and I got through the last interview, and they wanted to offer me the job. I was hoping it was going to be a remote job, so they required me to go to Seattle and actually live there. So I politely declined, and it was the job that I actually really wanted. Then one time I found myself in Seattle just to visit one of my friends, and I called up the creative director. He was, "Hey, well, why don't we go get some coffee and just chit chat?" And we ended up going for coffee. Had a good time. We had a nice chat, and it was this really interesting, really nice sort of conversation and an experience. Where when I came back months after, he called me right up and said, "Hey, I know you're looking for freelance and remote work, and we got some stuff for you." And ever since then, I've become a freelancer for them pretty regularly, and it's become actually a really nice sort of friendship, like outside and during work. But that's, it's something that it's always really nice to, open yourself up, and even if you have to decline a job or you don't get the job, it's always nice to kind of reach out and try to form something, even if it doesn't evolve into anything. You never know the possibilities that can bring you. So yeah, that's really important.
Thank you so much for that motto. Wonderful share. I'll read a couple from the chat. We've got Diane. She's in Brighton, the UK. And she says for her, it's the British have that stiff upper lip. It's definitely that cultural expectation that she's dealing with. And she says she thinks sometimes for her it has always been an issue.
Welcome, MJ.
Yeah,
Good to see
I
you.
can definitely feel that. Yeah.
Eduardo Fuentes. So the stiff upper lip. Come on, people, put them in the chat. Like we want to just drop in. This is important. The drop in. Yeah. MJ made it. Name, location, what you do, and like share. So go, Arsen and Jay.
Yeah. Arsen and Jay, would you like to share?
Yeah, I mean, it's more like, it's mostly like sounding unprofessional, and like, I guess, I mean, these are mostly the stories before the design therapy started, but I know how I'm usually with the clients. Even my girlfriend is like, I'm too stiff because I'm like just focusing on the technical side and not like discussing anything that is not related to work part.
Yeah, a reminder from Mauricio, we were talking yesterday about sharing, and one of the things, it's not a rule, but it's a rule, it's kind of guidelines, is that you always share from the I, and is that what you're asking, Mauricio? It's like I, had this experience. Got it.
The power of,
the power of I, the power of sharing from your point of view and your I. This is what's going on, and this is how I feel. This is what I did. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about our synergy, you mentioned being a little stiff. Because you're trying to be somebody else. You're like, I am professional. You're trying to be, I am professional guy, but you're just you. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I am professional. You're playing professional on TV, and it's a lot of work. So yeah. Got it. I love Ana Paradas. And Colleen's is super good.
Yeah. I'll read Ana Paradas. Would you like to come on stage, Ana? Would you like me to read it for you?
En español lo puedes hacer, yo lo traduzco.
No, it's okay. I think I need to practice my English as well.
Okay. Está bien.
No problem. Think I'm like in the middle of my journey. Well, I'm trying to figure out so many things, and I'm not sure if I know for sure what I have to offer, because I don't know if I need to try more or have more experience. But meanwhile, I don't have something special to share. I think I should just focus in the work and not too much about myself. I don't know if people could relate with what I've lived, because I think it's just a bunch of insecurities.
Yeah. I think a lot of us share that one. We definitely feel that.
May I jump?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm not a graphic designer, but I have.
What's your name?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, my name is Hania Britt. I'm located in Berlin, Germany. I'm scientist, very focused in the interface between science and business. And as scientist, I'm very much interested in creation and also in design, because design for me is an expression of communication as well. So in my case, in business, in science, I have get leads when I was traveling abroad. So through friends, and people say, you are doing this, for example, visiting Latin America from Germany and visiting with a special objective. People in Latin America also say to me, do you have time to meet a friend of mine or to meet this company or to talk with these people? And then I said always yes, and I was prepared for the for the surprise, for the moments. And this had been really my experience to get new leads through friends, through people to know, and accepting the moment, getting the moment, not losing the momentum. This is really my experience. Wanted to share.
That's
Also
beautiful.
be natural, but at the same time prepare with business card. Everything is natural, but at the same time, I'm prepared to get the moment because I was in a business travels. I know what I'm doing as well in this case. No? Okay, thank you.
It's beautiful. So many nuggets in there. I'm not even going to comment on them. It's beautiful.
Can I share?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, first I wanted to make a parenthesis because there's a lot of new faces. Can you share your socials in the chat, like your Instagram tags and all that good stuff, so we can all connect? And okay, so my share is, well, I guess sharing the story itself, it's kind of hard sometimes. And actually, Colleen said a comment that what's the word that I really related to, which is feeling that you're not enough or you're not worthy, or that like your story doesn't matter. It's like, why should I be even telling my thing, or why should I, this whole concept we've been talking about of unmuting ourselves. Yeah, that's been like a big thing for me. Meaning like, this is like not relevant, why should I even talk, type thing.
Yeah, I think we all go through that challenge too, where we're concerned with relevancy, like why. Like Shaquille talked about how, and he shared in the chat how sometimes he doesn't know what part of his story to share. But we got some folks that would like to come to the stage. Ewart, why don't you step up to the stage, brother?
Hey, how you guys doing? Ewart from in Panama at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for me, the challenge with sharing my story is, as you grow and as you evolve and as you either learn new things or encounter new insecurities, it's like continuing to share it, or looking at yourself objectively, where like, okay, I could see the strength in this, I could see the vulnerability in this, and still being, balancing that with like, do I have the energy to share it in a sense, right? Or is it too much? Am I gonna like bring the room down, or is it even motivational or relevant? Getting in your head in a sense, or in my head at least, I should say. And yeah, that would be my challenge.
Yeah, man, felt that a lot. I definitely went.
Also, appreciate the opportunity to share this. I feel like it's a very safe space, so just want to add that there.
Thank you so much for that, man. Yeah, we're here for you, man. This is community built. It's by the community. It's co-creation. But thank you so much for sharing. And I think a lot of us resonate with that one. Eduardo, come up to the stage.
Oh my God, I had like 2 filters of mute on this thing. Hi, everyone. New face here. Glad to meet you all. You all are super warm. I love the energy here. I was actually invited on by Validity. I'll just go ahead and share my story. So my name's Eduardo Fuentes, and I also live here in Ensenada, Baja California. And I guess I can answer kind of both questions. Previous one was, oh my God, I kind of had it, but it had something to do with like an opportunity or a chance that I've had. I've gotten.
So the prompt was just really quickly was if you could share a story where being your authentic self created an opportunity for you.
Yeah, so I can share one that just happened a couple of days ago. So I've always been really close to a friend that runs a dog shelter in the city, and just through like showing support and always trying to be there. At least showing interest whenever I'm not available, has gotten me at least an opportunity to work with a really cool client that I just met actually yesterday in person for, it's just a client that he basically wants an addition to his house, right? I'm an architect, so I'll be kind of supporting him with that. and a really cool opportunity that was, you know, made through just sharing my passion with like animals and like that kind of love, and you know, finding a client that way.
And that was incredible. Thank you so much for that share. Let's do one more. Would anyone else like to step to the stage?
I'll share.
Yeah.
A while back, one of my frat brothers invited me to go to his kickboxing gym. So, you know, I rolled through and, you know, meet the guy who owns the gym or whatever. And, you know, throughout the course of being there, you know, you have a natural conversation, you know, and I'm a person who likes to be introspective and talk about different things. So at one point, you know, he hits me up and, you know, he's like, hey, I'd like you to, you know, the owner, like the guy had just sold him the gym. And he was like, you know, I'm kind of in a spot, like, you know, we need to, you know, we could use some help or whatever. So I'm like, cool, I got you. So, you know, I remember doing core with them, you know, and all that good stuff. And like, I remember that, you know, them actually like their eyes being open to being intentional about like, you know, how they wanted to brand as a gym. And, you know, fast forward like a few years later, like, you know, he's one of like a very good friend of mine now. And I can remember, you know, a while ago he hit me up and was like, yo, I just wanted to tell you, like, I really appreciate you, you know, for you know, helping us out. And then like, I appreciate you for, you know, telling me about Outwitting the Devil, because it was like, you know, I started reading that and like I started, you know, doing a lot of things based off of that, and it really changed, you know, the way, you know, how everything went, you know, for the business, and like seeing the stuff they're doing now, it was really dope to me. So that was one of those situations where me just talking about random stuff I think about, you know, helped to create an opportunity and, more importantly, a relationship.
Just vibing with that one right there, man. Definitely felt that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you guys for the shares, you know, and even for those of you in the chat that I didn't get a chance to get to. I'm reading them. I'm scrolling through them. The community's scrolling through them. And, you know, this is for each other, right? You know, like I'm really hoping that you guys can find resonance with each other's experiences.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment because what we're going to do today is really dovetailing from this. But the one comment I'll make is in this process of listening to your stories or to the prompt is designed to drop us in literally into the topic, and the download is an inspiration around the topic that fuels it forward. And then when we do the topic or when we do the session, then we'll actually be able to have connections to what you said. Callback is called in the story. So you said, you know, this, therefore, here's an example, right? Setting the container, that's the circle. Just how to create the content that we're creating. I hate the word content, by the way, but yes, go Keone.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, you know, we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to dive into our download. And our download is sort of the mindset that we really want to keep in mind as we go through today's broadcast. Today's download was selected by Mary, and it references our theme of design. Mary, would you like to come on stage and talk a little bit about this quote?
I'll try. I mean, it's so simple, right? But there's a lot there. And I think you can do both. I mean, you know, it's not like one or the other. Hopefully you're going to make a living too. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, for me, like, as I got older and I was on that like rat race wheel of, you know, that mouse wheel of trying to make more and more and more and more. I realized when I moved up to the Bay Area that I really consciously wanted to make different choices and think about the quality of work that I was doing, and who I was working with was more important than the number, you know. I mean, of course I have to take care of my kids, so I have to, you know, have a certain level of income to do that, but but I really wanted my life to not be about the possessions and the materialism. And so like I did this massive downsizing from living in LA to move up here, and it's been way more rewarding, you know, to do the work that I want to do versus chase the money.
Right. You know, when you selected this quote, and you know, full transparency, like I found a bunch of quotes that I thought really like were relevant, and I provided them to Mary. Mary like selected this one. This one spoke to her. When I first came across this quote, it really reminded me of like my experience in my life. You know, for a very long time, and then a lot of it is cultural. You know, I'm Caribbean, so you know, coming to the United States and being first generation and being the oldest in my family, you know, the goal in life was to make a living. It was just about making a living. It wasn't about being your truest self. It wasn't about expressing your creativity. It wasn't being, you know, your most, you know, being the best that you can be. It was never about that. Not even trying to fight the system or deal with the oppression or any of those things. It's make a living, survive.
Yeah, and it's like it's so tied to your worth, right?
Exactly.
Like your quote unquote worth. Right.
Yeah. Jose.
I don't see the quote as a binary choice of one or the other one, right? I do see what he's saying. We all have two choices. We can make a living, or, you know, it's kind of like the quote from Jay-Z, you know,
I'm not a businessman.
I'm not a businessman. I am the businessman, which is actually the same quote, kind of. Meaning that for me, the biggest struggle I've had in my life in general is how, you know, when I started job, like I remember my job at Razorfish, I quit after like 8 months or 6 months. I mean, like a job is like, I'm like,
You're like allergic to it.
I'm allergic to it. Yeah. Working for someone else is super, like, I get itchy, I get hives. I'm like, I'm trying to escape, you know, to quote a nurse in Brooklyn at the hospital. She's like, you're a runner. You're trying to escape. But designing a life, being intentional about the choices you make, figuring out what your purpose is, you know, figuring out how to run a business or even at a job. Something that I've been listening to a lot lately is that once you're in your purpose, you know, you can be in your purpose inside a job, and it's a platform for you. And it doesn't have to be that you have to be an independent, you know, pirate all the time, right? But, you know, I happen to be of the pirate variety, you know, like many of us here. What does it mean to design a life? You know, what does it mean to be happy? What does it mean? What are the things? Who do you need to be able to be independent and happy and content? And that's been my journey, you know, just figuring out every step of the way, what are the aspects of who I need to be that will not only like get me to where I want to go financially. I've never had a problem with that part. That part always works fairly well. You know, there's some, Keone and I were walking through downtown and he was pointing out at this new electric Porsche. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, that would be awesome. Maybe my 30-year-old self would be like, oh yeah, that's one of my hashtag goals. But not anymore. Like, you know, maybe a nicer, a bigger Harley, that would be interesting, but that's just when you change. But we talked about, let's have a compound in Latin America. That's what we talked about. Like, let's have like a retreat that we can go to in Latin America or in the Philippines or in somewhere like that. That got me excited because it's communal, right? So community being my gift and understanding myself and what makes me happy, you know, is really ultimately what you can begin directing your efforts and your initiatives towards. How amazing would it be to, what makes you happy, what you do every day, and how you make a living is all in alignment. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Dude, this is how Patricia's personality is in my head. Even though she doesn't sound like that.
It's the energy. It's the vibes. It's the vibes. So yeah, guys, you know, we really wanted, you know, this download to kind of prep you for today's recap. And Pape. So Pape, you want to hop in?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I was just thinking, for me, what I read from this quote is like, you have two choices. Either you take like complete ownership of your life and what you want it to be, or not taking ownership of how your life is and just reacting to the moment and like drifting out of control, you know. I know we're not gods, we don't control everything, but we do control the perspective we choose and how to face any situation. And I think when you take responsibility of your life and everything that happens, the good and the bad, it's not about making it like just like, oh, everything happy and shiny. Of course we want that, but it's just owning it. It's owning your life, and if your life is working at McDonald's and you love it, like own it, you know. Just it doesn't matter what it is. So I think what it speaks to me on this quote is that like ownership of your life, and also kind of a privilege that I think all of us we have by being here with a computer and being in this conversation. There's some kind of privilege of having the mindset we have today, because I'm sure a lot of humanity, as Keone was saying, they're just surviving. So I think being able to own your life is just a big privilege that we should take advantage, and just don't feel guilty if you're not. But I mean, we're lucky just to be here. So that's my insight.
Yo, I'm gonna add this one last point before we move on, but you're absolutely right. A lot of us, particularly those that come up or have family in developing nations and have parents that, are elders in their community that like are really harp on them, like, why don't they just go get the job or do this or just work hard or just put your nose down to the grind. Those are the remnants of the life that they needed to live to survive. For my mother, I had such a hard time growing up because I was born into a time where information was accessible, where, the ability for me to see myself outside of the systems of oppression that she grew up underneath were completely different. So my eyes and the way that I saw the world only happened because I was standing on her shoulders and I was seeing above the walls that she had to fight and break through just to survive. And I think for all of us right now, we live in an incredible time. It's an incredible time in human history where we have the technology and the creativity and the opportunity and the communities to connect at a global scale, right? To design our lives in a way that is authentic to ourselves. Like, this is an incredible opportunity. And we just want to help you guys, start that path and take the first step. So I'll just use that as a segue to
Let's do it. That's a good segue. Let's do it.
Yeah. This is why the power of story is so important. And, over the last few weeks, we started talking about story. I talked about the power of our origin story and how we found meaning in superheroes and the concept of being able to fight and create this identity for yourself based on the way that you grew up, based on the way that you lived. And we see it all the time. We really see the hero story. We see it in Star Wars with Luke. We see it in the story of Avatar with the legend of Korra. And, what we really wanted to do is just reinforce this concept of the story for you and what this story looks like. The story is this thing that is constantly happening. For some people, they see it just as a cyclical, fractal experience, right? You're called to adventure, you're meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold, the trials and the failures, right? These are all the 12 steps of the hero's journey. For some folks, it's a little bit simpler and they look at it in a more emotional space, right? They're in a comfort zone and they want something, they're not sure what it is. They explore and they enter unfamiliar territory. They go out on a journey. They learn how to adapt. They discover like, hey, yeah, this is a little bit about what I want. They pay that heavy price, but they return to the familiar situation with growth, with understanding, with a new, thing in hand, that pirate's booty, the boon. And then they realize that they've changed and they may have returned to the same place, but they no longer are who they are. We can look at it in a video game concept, right? And it's really the level up. At each one of these stages, from a novice to an expert to a master, they're going through that hero's journey. And when they return in the full cycle of the hero's journey, they've leveled up.
It's a good question, a good prompt, like from a show of hands. How many people here have played a video game, like a game that, put it in the chat, which game, you know, is it Mario Brothers, is it Zelda, is it, you know, because every single level is the same, it gives you the high. And the next slide is actually pretty good.
Yeah, you know, and you know, I'll pause here for a moment while you guys put in the stat. Zelda, yeah, right now I'm playing Jedi Order, or Jedi Fallen Order, where young Calichistis, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but every single time you learn a new force ability, the ability to fight or to heal or to protect or to use your lightsaber in new ways, you have to actually go through, you have to fight a certain number of enemies, you have to build up this experience point, right? And there's a lot of games like Magic the Gathering, you know, like all of these games are really about leveling up, finding new strategies, understanding, being able to wield them efficiently, and then grow from them. Yes, Brats from Rock Angels counts, Colleen. You know, and you know, I just want to read out some of these games: Assassin's Creed, you know, Cuphead, Max Payne, Diablo 3. Absolutely, all of these games we're leveling up.
Oh my God, The Sims.
Yeah,
The Sims is definitely the ultimate simulator. We are in The Sims, you know. This avatar has taken me some time to acquire.
Yes. Final Fantasy, the best one is number 7. Deeper forever. Resident Evil. Oh, career mode, 2K. I had to leave that game alone because it just sucked up too much of my life and soul. But yes, absolutely.
Mortal Kombat does somewhat count. It does have a narrative arc in it. It's just that they only give you the fight sequences, you know, and then they tell you the story, which is, it's great. It's just, you like to play the hardest part. You're very tactical if you like Mortal Kombat.
Oh, totally.
Get it done.
Fatality. Toasty. And we're back. So let's talk a little bit about story map choices. So really the big thing that I want for you guys to take away from this section is to understand that, yes, these are all the same stories, just from different perspectives, right? You can look at it in a very simplified way, Aristotle, right? Where you go through your journey and then you reach the peak of your challenge, you know, you gain, you know, the experience, the knowledge, the skill, the talent, the understanding. And then where do you return? Back to square one. You can look at the typical story spine. Once upon a time, every day, but one day, because of that, until finally, ever since. And then the moral of the story is, we have the generative arc, the transformation from the problem to the solution, right? Very
problem, solution, results. Problem, solution, results.
Exactly. And then you get at the end, and then the end, you've transformed. So yeah, you know, we really want you guys to understand that the story, the journey, the hero's arc, you know, the origin story, however you choose to characterize it, it applies to all of us, and we see it played out in all of our lives constantly.
And this is a preamble or precursor to what we're going to do from an exercise standpoint. And Keone, if you go to the next slide, Power 3, like if you look at all the breakdowns, you know, problem, solution, result, problem, solution, result. Then you go to the next one, which is objective, task, and results. Then you go to the next one, mind, body, and spirit. And then you go to the next one, just do it, right? Or the next one, we are the system. And then the final one, those are the attributes mapped to you. We are the system: inclusion, unity, collaboration. So understanding the 3 and the importance of 3, which is the key to unlocking the translation process of going from story to attribute or values to then summary, because you can't remember everything. I mean, it's like, it's like you can have 6, you can have 7, but the triangle in itself becomes, they become containers. So if you're familiar, say yes inside the chat, if you're familiar with object-oriented programming, right? There's all of these functions that are encapsulated in one object, so that you can shorthand it, right? You don't have to like write all the functions every single time. So attributes and values are those objects that are kind of encapsulating all these different meanings for the story. So when you're doing brand and people are like, oh my God, what does brand strategy actually mean? It means prioritizing, summarizing the memes or objects that encapsulate in word form, all the things that are underneath the attribute of inclusion or of unity. You can talk about unity and being kind of together and how it feels and all these kind of things, or you can just use the word unity because language is a technology, right? That's what you do. Now, our job is to wield it both in words, but also in visual manifestation. But now with the web and with, customer experience, also in all of the expressions of those particular components. So the big insight that I want you guys to see, and I'm starting to sound like Keone, that we want you to see, is collectively what it means to do the process of facilitating strategy, understanding the story of a client, coming up with together, prioritize values or attributes, then taking those, which is the next step. And this week's theme is design. All of the precursor to you making a logo or to you making, a color choice or to you making a website, all those things are also design. You're planning and you're making choices and you're narrowing. At that stage, if you can communicate those things consistently and continuously, kind of like how I said in core office hours, that the logo matters less than your ability to deliver the attributes across multiple platforms over time consistently. If people feel and understand in everything you do that the nuances of exactly what color it is, or, of course, you don't want to have something have the attribute of joyful and it's all black, well, that's some weird joy. So the hope and goal that I have and that we have for today's session is that you begin to understand not only how to translate a story into values and attributes, but then what it means to summarize them and to make them into magic, which is to then kind of have the shortest way of bringing forward the incantation that is Roxana. And that's the segue for our exercise.
Yeah. So let's dive into today's exercise. So today, guys, what we want to share with you is a recap of our exercise that we've been doing with Roxana. About 4 weeks ago, Roxana and we mirrored for you guys this experience of going through and identifying your origin story and using that process to help identify your superpowers, to really help identify your impact, to really understand your contribution to the world.
Pape, what slides do you want to see? Keone, Pape wants to see some slides again. I think he's screen shooting them. Are you talking about the triangle?
Keep moving forward. Maybe if
Oh no, I'll put the link to the deck in the thing so you can actually look at them yourself.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah. So, we modeled what that looked for, and I wanted to share with you guys what the final outcome of that process looked like. And we want to enroll you guys in a process of translating, just really quickly to kind of show you the mechanics of this exercise. So when you first sat down with, your partner, the big thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to walk through the 12 chapters in a hero's journey. And we start that process by really anchoring into the emotions and the feelings and the memories associated with those emotions. I generally like to start with what are some of the earliest memories that you have, some of your earliest, times in your life that you can remember just seeing the world and having, thoughts about the world. And we did that with the ordinary world. And she shared how some of her earliest memories was about weirdness and comfort. It was, she was in kindergarten basically, and she didn't understand the language that was being spoken around her, and she was traveling on a train. She remembers looking over a bridge, which is a very important theme that presents itself multiple times in this story. And so she's passing over a bridge, and she was confused because she wasn't understood. Um, so the context of this memory is that Roxana was German, spoke German at that age, but was being raised in Argentina. And so she was in this place where she's looking around, knowing that she's different, but not feeling like afraid, but just feeling different. And she also had comfort. I thought that was really interesting. We talked about the call to adventure in a time when she felt uneasy and unsettled and uncomfortable, but still push forward. And she talks about, as she grew older and her exploration in personal expression and really trying to find a way to express herself in a true sense. And she's searching for real friends and real personal expression, and trying piercing and tattoos, but also through art, handmade art, crafts, and exploring the online world. We can talk about her refusal of the call. And, in that experience, she talks about another memory of traveling again to Brazil this time. And she was a teenager. And it was a pretty dangerous experience for a teenager, but she still left on the adventure, still driven and excited. And she was, connecting with family, in another part of the world. And so she was exploring the world to connect with her people. And her trip to Brazil was really about family and connections, meeting the mentor. And so she talks about the first time that she came across Chris and Jose on YouTube, and how it really activated her and sparked her. And she realized it was so valuable. She couldn't believe that it was free. And it really was a pivot point in her life. And she started to feel growth. And the context again is, at the time she had studied tourism. She had just moved to Spain. She was also searching for freedom. She wanted to be able to live nomadically, be able to travel, and to do online digital work. She had worked at a digital marketing agency, and she had discovered programming and started to fall in love with design. The next chapter is crossing the threshold. So this is really about the feeling of ambition and opportunity, committing to this goal. A friend of hers was launching a skincare product, and he needed a logo, packaging, and a website. It was her first real design project. And even though she was scared, she took it on and executed. And she talked about why that experience was so important, that clients had confidence in her to be able to execute the project. And it was her first experience in an exchange of value outside of monetarily speaking. Moving on to the next chapter. This is where she's really starting to explore the world. And this is the chapter of test allies and enemies. It's really understanding that you're in this new place and there are new rules that you have to follow. So it was during this time where she's really exploring the digital marketplace. She had tried to sell things on Etsy. She had worked at a marketing agency creating websites. How it impacted her was many of those experiences didn't go too well. But when working for the marketing agency, she discovered that working with developers and having to bridge the gap between development and design, it was a very different space and very different ways of thinking. And she liked bridging those differences. And then she found about Webflow, a platform that operates in that space that allows for her to do those things. So let's move on to the next page. That was the first half. And here we go. So then there's chapter 7, and this is the feelings of inauthenticity. It's when you're bargaining against yourself in the world, and you're negotiating, you're trying to figure out, do I not be authentic to myself and do this thing because it's a thing that I think that I want, right? And in this space, she was dealing with a lot of frustration, looking for a space online where she felt inspired by the work. And this was the period of time where she learned about Webflow. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but she was just really disoriented in the moment. And she came across this individual and something had clicked, taught her how to really understand development and work and Webflow, and it was a light bulb moment. And it was in that moment that she knew that this was the spot for me, this was the space for me. We moved to the next stage, which is ordeal, which is, you know, it's feeling depressed at times and not feeling good enough. It's an existential angst. And for her, it was that Webflow was challenging. And she struggled with, you know, ageism and maybe feeling like she was a little too old to be getting into design. Sometimes, you know, she's learning from younger designers and now she's starting to feel a little bit on the outside. But learning Webflow, you know, and she talks a little bit about the challenges of Webflow. It's like learning a real website. It's not a drag and drop tool. So she had to really learn about how websites work. It was Rand Siegel that I'd mentioned in the previous chapter. It was the Rand Siegel course that really allowed for her to move past that chapter. Then she moves into where she really starts to seize the treasure. It's the pirate's booty. It's like really having the understanding and clarity. And so this happened in 2018. She had missed a meetup with Jose and Chris, but she ended up going to a local design meetup. She met new friends, and one of them saw how much she had grown through her experience of learning Webflow. And what she discovered was she didn't realize that she already had all the skills. She was already a powerful creator. She was already a powerful designer and builder. And she found herself giving advice and guidance to other designers, right? Now we get to the road back. This is about redemption. It's about determination and perseverance. It's the rededication to the craft. And that experience had affirmed that she needs to keep on learning. That design is so big and amazing. And it doesn't matter about age. You know, it's this thing. Some people are going to be great at some things. Other people are going to be great at other things. It doesn't matter my age. I can really thrive in this space and own this. So she, you know, the way that it impacted, you know, me and like diving into this was, you know, she talks about how Webflow requires constant iteration. It requires constant growth. The way that things were done a few months ago are not the way that things are going to be done now. And so it's a new way of doing something. You know, it's a fight between design and code. Webflow is bringing those worlds together. And she understood the gap in between those two worlds. And, you know, this opened the door to design sprints. So then let's move into the resurrection, chapter 11, which is really about the feeling of accomplishment and achievement. She meets Alex Zorita, Ponte la Corbata, for those of you guys who don't know. And they shared many values, and he became someone that she trusted. And they built a friendship, and he asked her to design his website. And, you know, the exposure is cool, you know, the website's going to be cool, but it's ultimately one of the biggest design projects that she's had. And she got to do it with someone that respects her and inspires her, most importantly. And then, you know, we have the last chapter. This is the return, and this is mastery, ascendancy, and growth. So through her friendships and her journey online, she connected with the system in our community, who we are here. And she grew to a place where her skills level, talent, and experience can really help grow the system. And now she's a part of our community, and she's part of the inner circle, and she's helping build a Systm website, you know, as an opportunity to empower other creatives like her who are cultural creatives. So this entire story, we hear a lot of themes that are happening as we go through and we review this narrative arc. You know, we have things like
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the themes.
Like personal expression, connecting and exploration, family and freedom, confidence, design and development, right? On the second page, we have things like learning. Learning is a big one. Growth and discovery, bridging worlds together, right? We have these X's here because these are really key. You know, in the first story that she shared, one of her earliest stories was, you know, looking over a bridge and understanding that she's in between two different worlds, and she sees both sides of these worlds. And here we are. Jose,
Yeah.
you want to?
Well, I was going to say I was anchoring the story in the beginning, like when was the first time that it showed up? Because then it's going to show up again in the middle part of the story, and then it'll show up again at the end. So the primary theme always shows up at the critical parts of the story, right? The inception, and that's how you build a business, right? At the inception, if you can summarize the critical parts of the story, the critical attributes, then they'll show up in the middle, in the hardest part. Like when you ask yourself the question, when you're in the hardest part of the journey, it's like, oh my God, how do I get this done? You go back to what your superpower is, and that pushes you through. I was having this doubt, of like, oh my God, what are we doing? The system, we have all this work. And I go, wait, hold on. Community, connection, just go back to what the superpower is, and that will kind of get you through. And then at the end, when you get to mastery and ascendancy, is you really ultimately want to share your superpower to other people, because you can't teach something that, and in her case, if you go to the next slide, and then we should talk a little bit about, because you, Keone, you're doing it, this particular story, and you're very good at doing it at the entire narrative arc, meaning Hania is asking, I don't understand like what the beginning is. If you ask somebody to tell a story from the beginning at a bar or like sitting down for dinner, that's really far to go back to like, what's your earliest memory? You asked her to do that as a child, because we know that before before 12, those are the biggest imprints that you might have as a child emotionally. So if I were to tell, but if you're asking a business, like let's say you're doing the same process to define the purpose or define the hero's journey for a business, where can you go back to when you remember you had the idea to get started? Hania, that's a way of going to the beginning. It's the beginning of whatever cycle you want to tell, because the cycles are continuous. It's, the cycle of Roxana, because it's for her personal brand and we're doing it for you here, is go back to the beginning, your earliest memory as a child. For all of us here in this context, that is the easiest way to do it, because you want to encapsulate the whole person, right? If you're doing it for a business, you might not want to go back to the beginning when you were born. How did it feel? Like that, the client is going to look at you and go like, what? But every story has a beginning, and it might be just the latest chapter, or it might be the entire story, but you can like extrapolate where you go, which to what degree, you expand. If you're familiar with video editing, you know how you have that little feature where you can actually zoom in and out of the timeline, right? You can just look at a little part, or you can look at the whole thing, right?
Yeah. You can think about it like the cross section of a tree, right? Like for personal, growth, like if you were to cross section that tree, and each of those circles, each of those rings is just a cycle of this journey that we've been on. It makes sense for us on a personal level to go to the center. Like, I want to see the center of that ring. But in a business, going to the center really doesn't make sense. You may just focus on the external ring. Where are you at now? What are you struggling with? Let's start that story from there. Does that make sense, Hania?
Yes. I was really surprised how you start a conversation like this, but now I catch the point. Yes. Yeah. It's to you understand the beginning of the idea, of the process, of the project, and where it goes. Yes.
Right. Sweet.
Yes. Thank you. No, it's okay. Fine to me. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. So
I got it.
So this exercise really practices a lot of the facilitation skills that we need. We talked about the need for active listening. So this is, really listening, to your partner, being able to listen beyond just the definitions, beyond just, the story, but into the emotionality and to the true meaning, really deep thinking, right? We talked about the 3 levels of listening. And then there's the translation component, which is something that I want to do with you guys here, just really quickly, just to kind of give you guys a taste of this exercise. And I'd love for you guys to post in the chat. In the story, we reviewed a few themes, right? And we saw some of those themes play out. What I would like for you guys to do is—
Which ones do you remember? Yeah.
Exactly. Share the themes that you guys remember. in regards to superpower actions and impact.
And here's a hint. Here's a hint. They appear in different places, but they appear at the beginning, in the middle, and the end pretty clearly. So like almost if you go to the end of the story, and I know superpowers is what we're starting with here because that's the driver. The beginning is the end and the end is the beginning. The first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? It's a circle.
Yeah.
Because what you're seeking for, what you're looking for is looking for you. Remember that. Yeah, right.
So yeah, so like what are some of the superpowers that you guys are seeing here? Right, we've got development, design, bringing people together, empowering, guidance. Right?
Just post 3 that you guys see. Like, let's see. And Keone, go back to go to the other thing so that people can't see it. And cheat. I want to see if they can remember them. Meaning, just try to remember from listening to the story if you were paying attention. You might have been too busy making backgrounds, which I love. Meet's background is awesome.
Yeah.
Discover, empower, design, community development, connection, owning her voice, bridging. Yeah, the bridge. Yeah.
These are really great. Learning, absolutely.
Yeah, Hania, that's not my quote, to be clear. So don't quote me saying what you're looking for is looking for you. That's a very common quote. Not a common quote, sorry. That sounds like an asshole thing to say. It is a quote.
Yes, the bridge is yours, Hania.
Yeah, Hania's like, the bridge is mine. I don't want anybody bridging. Here's a hint. We're all bridges because we're all Hania. Like notice, everybody's like hybrid or in Latin America, or Mauro is a bridge. It's a hybrid between a pig and a human.
Yeah, and I'm going to read some of these because these are really great. Jose, maybe if you want to populate some of these in the chat while I read.
Sure. No, you read them. You read them.
Okay.
Oh, you mean in the deck? In the deck.
Yeah.
Got it. I'll do it.
So we've got Diane Perry, and she shares community development and connection. Arsene, discover, empower, and design. We've got Cassie, learn. Amit has learning, design, and connection. Dexter, translation and connection. Energy alchemist. Ooh, funky. I love that.
Somebody's making some jumps.
Pape, connecting science and design. Ewart, validation. Pape, connection is the currency. Patricia, positivity, encouragement, and consistency. Motto, I'm Batman.
That was just
I know.
That was funny.
Look, man, we're here to have fun. From Porsche. Freedom, discovering, and empowerment. From Hania, creativity, empowerment, and transformation. From Eduardo, resilient, patience, and compassion. Yeah. And these, let's talk a little bit about actions now, right? So these are the things that you have done powered by your values. So these are the things that you continue to do. These are the things that continue to drive you and then ultimately impact, right? Like these are the results of your journey. So this is what you set out to do in the world. This is your purpose, and your vision emanates from there, right? I call it an infinite or horizontal vision. And it's this way that we see the future. It's this way that we see the world. It's this way that we have to leave a legacy that exists beyond us, right? It drives the work that we do. We don't just do this thing because we're good at it. We don't just do this thing because we're talented. We do this thing because we're passionate about it. And we're passionate about it because we believe that the world has to exist in this way. And there's no way that I can move on in my life and exist without impacting the world and the people around us. So yeah, and I'll read some more of these. From a tool, discovering and guidance a new way, Eduardo, connection. from Diane to grow. From Eduardo again, purpose. From Jaja to inspire. Mauricio to listen, to change, to share, to make things better. From Hanya, networking. From Titus, flow, communication, educating clients and helping creatives. From Adriana, to feel. From Diane, to collaborate. These are really powerful. From Mauricio, to love, amor.
We're starting to project ourselves on her a little bit, but I like it because we're all the same person, and that's okay. So there's a question, in facilitation, like I do it all the time. Like I start projecting myself into the idea because I'm part of the team that's building the idea. If it's a startup or if it's something, there's nothing wrong with that. I ask you guys all the time, Mauro, or even Roxana, it's like, bring yourself to the idea. Most of you have a hard time because I can sense that you're still in the how do I make this person happy mode, and like what does it mean to bring yourself into it, your superpower. So you go back, and I always forward the story in the superpower. Recent feedback for Roxana was just, let's move it forward, let's put it into Webflow, right? Let's get it into the integration of the design, because the design is like somewhere good enough. Let's just move forward. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So I really love this, guys, and this is that experience of translation. This is being able to see and feel and hear and understand and empathize, and to be able to translate that. This is the same skill that you use in articulating values and attributes in core, in the attributes section. This is the same exact skill set. And as a facilitator, you're going to learn that more and more great facilitators have that ability to listen, understand, imbue, and then translate. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to share really quickly some of these values and attributes that you guys presented, and then we're going to show you guys what we actually did. And so under superpowers, we have, this is her contribution and her gift to the world. And we have bridging, community, empowering, design, learning, connection, validation. Underneath action.
I feel like we're cheating because we already had the cake in the oven and we're going to pull it out because I know what you said. So here's how the process actually happened. Keone actually pulled out the themes and then I came in and I did yes and added a little bit to it. But I based the attributes and the focus of what went into the superpowers based on how Keone was seeing the story, because he's the one who facilitated it, right? So I'm taking his lead. Just show the next one, Keone, because I think we can fake it and show people that but let's just show what we came up with. And then we could have done it together now, but so Keone came up with to bridge across cultures. It's a singular. And I'm sorry, Hanya, we are so stealing that. This is what came from the story. To bridge across cultures and communities by
exploring creativity and friendship together,
so that
we can grow, innovate, and build a creative community.
So here's the question. And I was saying about projection earlier, and I talked to Keone about this. This starts sounding like what we're doing. It starts sounding like the system. So my question to you, Roxana, is first and foremost, knowing that you have a podcast, I was on it last week, which was awesome. Thank you for letting me share my story in Espanol, in Spanish. I just shared it. I've been sharing it across cultures, to different people. I shared it the other day to a friend from Brooklyn, Ra Crawford. And so I shared it from the Dominican diaspora and from that point of view, which is interesting because somebody asked the question, like Shaquille asked the question of, how do I share my story? I don't know which part of the story to share. So you make it relative to the audience and to the values that they have. You actually relate to them, and then you go, you switch your story lens to that. So Ra Crawford and we met in Brooklyn at one of my parties in my loft. He was a muralist. He was a community organizer. He's Black. He's from New York. So I was talking about those issues from my experience in Brooklyn as a person of, that's where I discovered that I wasn't white. I'm like, oh my God, I'm Dominican, and like, you know, talking to people in the bodega and realizing, you know, that's why I started growing my hair, right? So that to me, it's empathy, or it's actually matching the other person. But the question I wanted to bring to Roxana. How does this feel? Like, you know, we can project all we want. Keone and I can do this on our own, but this is for you and for the community. You heard them look at the themes. Just tell us your feedback.
Absolutely 100% true. Because like I said, sometime I did like the exercise of doing like the two, so that whatever, and I fill in the gaps, and I put to spread creativity so that we design together, creatives and no creatives, a better world. So for me, this sounds exactly like that. And this, I wrote it down like the first time I was here, just because it came to my mind, and I said, okay, I will leave it there and we'll see what happens. So yeah, for me, I mean, it's 100% true.
Well, Roxana, thank you so much for the bravery and the courage to allow for us to share this and to go through this process. And we're just humbled and grateful to be able to share your story.
Thank you, because you made me know myself a little bit better. So this was great, and I'm happy to share it and happy to spread this exercise to wherever I can, because it's amazing, like I said. And yesterday we go over Diane's story, so that was amazing too. So yeah, it's great.
This is awesome. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to present it in its final form. What? This is not my final. That's not his final form? No, it's not the final form.
It's a little bit more visual here.
Here we are. And so you guys are familiar, if you guys have the core kit, you guys are experienced with the core. You know, we talk about these nodes, you know, like these triangular representations where we kind of really bring all of these attributes and values together. And we just wanted to present it to you in just another format. And this is just a way that we aligned each of these ideas and values.
And think of hip hop. This is the way I bridge cultures with authenticity in making and in connections. You know, I explore design and development, learning design and development, you know, so that I can grow, or so that I can help my community grow and innovate and express themselves, you know. So you can really read them like much more. Yeah. It's beautiful. Can you put the link to your podcast, Roxana?
Oh yeah, it's in there.
Yeah,
oh wait, did Adriana post it?
Yeah, Adriana just posted it for everyone. It's just beautiful, hyper creative. And the last thing I want to say, Keone, and like if we, like, I don't know what slide is next, but oh yeah. So here's an expression of this exercise in visual form, but also with all of the things, including the beginning of the story. Allowing for, and if we had the song, you know, did you ever know that you're my hero? And you touch your heart and you think about, you know, yourself at that age when you were at your most creative, when you were at your most open, before you got, you know, lost your innocence and that wound. Before we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, we were innocent and we were, you know, whole, and, you know, what made us who we were back then still makes us who we are today. So culture, fun, synthesis, love, transparency, service, connection, empowerment, clarity. That's one of the reasons why we use and highlight, you know, your inner child, right? It's for that. It's so that you can feel that we have to stay there in order to be able to be at our best as creatives. We have to stay in that mode. The minute we become, you know, old people, and the minute mentally, because we're all going to age and we're all going to die, that's okay. But the minute that we lose that spark, you know, and if you go through the next one, Keone, you can see who the people are just in seeing the, go to the next one. The next slide.
Okay, what's going on? There we go.
There you go. Oh my God, look at Patricia and Brian and Shaquille. And if you want to do this exercise, it's still open. I love Shaquille's. People are changing the fonts. That's super awesome. Go to the next slide. There's many more, but we're only showing you a few of them. The next one.
There it is.
Try to find a photo. Try to ask, your relatives. Oh, look at Colleen. Yeah, there's a little bit of rebellion in that shot. Colleen is like, yeah, all right, let's, yeah. So, yeah. So
Love the Naruto reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, that is today's sermon.
That's today.
What I'd like to dive into is the upload. And I just want to open the floor up and ask from you guys, what was one valuable thing that you got from today's broadcast?
Hey, so for me, I would say, oh, go ahead. Who's going?
I'll keep mine short, but I was just going to say one valuable thing I got from today was just be open and genuine to your story, and don't be afraid. Don't assume for other people, how powerful your story is to them. Just be free with, just share freely and openly, and that's it.
Thank you for that.
I was just going to add.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I was just going to add that, we have a lot in common. We have so much in common, and our stories are valuable. I'm very appreciative of hearing, seeing the framework, of how to self-validate, especially that moment where she, a friend told her, like, oh, you've grown. It's like, oh yeah, I have, that was very powerful for me.
Yeah, there's a quote that I love, and it says, knowledge of self can't come from self. It requires something for you to reference against, whether it's an older self. It's why therapy is so important, right? We need a reflection board, because it's impossible to see ourselves in our journey and where we're at right now, right? We don't have third person view. I can't look at myself like a character and make all the moves. We live it, we imbue it, but that's the paradox. So powerful share, man.
I think one thing that I'd like to mention, so I did this exercise with Roxana last night, and as you said, Keone, it's exactly like therapy, and that's what I said. And to me, it's about asking the right questions, and these questions, they may seem simple, but they make you dig deep. And it's so helpful in so many ways. So I'm super grateful. Like it's such a great process.
Awesome. I'm so glad
it was impactful.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a few more shares. We'll wrap up in about 5-10 minutes, and
I'll read some of these shares that are in the chat. Patricia, we are literally everywhere around the world. We are all connected. We are all brothers and sisters. There's power in beauty and diversity. From Titus Ruiz, we never stop to learn about ourselves. Adriana, we are one. So I'll share a few thoughts. I'll go ahead, Jose.
No, go for it. I'll share after you, and I want Mary to share too.
Yeah. This experience today is really a reflection of, our journey and where we've been for the last year, a little over a year, right? Our first broadcast was April 16th, 2020. And, we really strive to be able to provide like a foundation and a place for growth, for development, for leadership through design, to empower you guys as creatives, as powerful creatives, and to really discover your true power. And, this has been a process that we've iterated on time and time again. And you know, just going through the process today and sharing it with you guys and seeing the feedback, to me has really validated the work that we're doing. You know, seeing Roxana and her story, like, really validates, you know, this process of learning and development that we've been on with you. And it's such a validation of the co-creation that we've done as a community. You know, this process started off as a lot of crazy ideas in my head. And here we are with this powerful tool for empowerment. So that's my takeaway.
Mary, what do you get? That was beautiful, Keone.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, you like just keep pulling it out of my head and my heart. Because I was sitting here going, oh my God, we're redesigning ourselves. We started this like a year ago, you know, and we had all these ideas, and it was really, you know, COVID was a catalyst for it, right? We had so much more time to like slow down and reflect and everything. And I mean, this is today for me so beautiful, like just beyond, it's just beyond my expectations around what we could create together. And I feel an incredible sense of completion and also excitement for iteration, right? But like a sense of like, you know, full circle, literally, like full circle, not closure, but just a satisfaction, a level of like deep satisfaction to see that Roxana and Diane are practicing it, right?
Yeah,
they're like,
exactly.
Oh my God, they're like spending the evening together, doing this together. And then, you know, how exciting that a foundation wants to hire the system to do it for some people, you know, for some other.
We're volunteering, we're not getting paid, but yeah.
Who cares?
We get a tax credit.
And it's just,
which we need.
But it's the actual, like the actualization of it, right? It's becoming reality and not just some concepts in our head. Yeah, and practicing it with you guys and seeing that, it's just amazing. I'm fantastic.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for that share, Mary. Jose?
Well, I want to actually like show mine, but I want Pape to share before. But I actually want to like visually show mine.
Absolutely. Pape, welcome to the stage, brother.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't know. I'm kind of emotional right now. I don't know, something just resonated a lot with me. And when Jose said that, like, going back to the first chapter of us being kids is the answer I found on my own journey. And like, I'm glad that like people are not walking this path alone and like providing this guidance, because in some way I had to figure all this out on my own, and it was scary but beautiful, you know. And I'm just so hopeful that
take your time, brother. There's no rush. We're here with you.
That people don't have to feel like shit anymore. Like breaking that you're not enough stories. That's my, it's something that I just want to build connection and really help people tell their stories. And like the last year, and I was talking today to my mom how I'm opening up to so many people like in my community and just listening and helping them synthesize, because I don't know how, like, the core framework was already in my mind, and it was so easy for me to just go in and just translate and become the mirror. And it's because I've done the journey on my own, and I've done it in a really reflective and illustrated way. Like, this is the story I will exhibit in galleries. This is what will be in museums. This is my work. And the first chapter is the chapter of the kids as this imaginative world where a piece of cardboard can be a plane, it's the world of possibilities, you know, and I have all these chapters written, and like being here and seeing this is just another validation that somehow I got it right, like on my own, and not on my own, because now I'm not on my own anymore, but oh man, it's amazing. Like these are tears of joy. I'm not sad. It's been a long time since I've cried because I'm sad. It's just, I'm hopeful, and I'm happy that more people will be able to not get in the mess that your head can put you in, because your head is the best storyteller, and it will make you believe bad stuff. And I think opening up and being transparent and authentic is the mission, and I just love it. It's just amazing.
Super beautiful.
Thank you so
I
much.
can't follow that up, yeah. But I can follow up by showing you Pape before we met. And when I met Pape the first time, I saw him and I immediately was like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy. Because when we did Personal Core, not that you look exactly like this guy, Pape, but you know, let's just put the hair in context. When we did Personal Core, this is 2 years ago. So the summer before we started the experiment that we're in now, my Personal Core, the main designer was in Latin America, because I had just gotten back from Costa Rica, you know, and here's the solution. The needs: make work meaningful, clarify their offerings, community, define your purpose, focus by defining your life and business, sharing your stories. So that's all I'm going to share, because the ultimate point is that what has naturally, it's not like we had this open and we've been doing this guiding it towards this. This is where, after we did the Personal Core for myself, right? Keone was in that, Mary was in that. You aligned the people, all of us got aligned to this direction. So every time that we ask where are we headed, it's not where we want it to go because we want to go in this direction. It's we're listening to what's unfolding and emerging, and it's mapping to what we did in our core, because it's really who we are, right? I don't know if that makes any sense. It's like what unfolds when you do it for yourself, what unfolds when you design your life, what unfolds when you're purposeful and intentional, when you are really taking it serious to define what you're doing and with who you're doing it and why you're doing it. Like, there is no chance, you know, there is no, like, you know, and Dexter can probably speak to this, you know, from the book, this idea of like just drifting and letting things happen and then feeling bad because, oh my God, why is my life not going in the direction that I want it to go? You have control. You are a captain. You're a captain of your own journey. And the key is that you don't do it alone, because people aren't going, you can't define who you are on your own. You need to really define it with the people around you who see you. So for me, the people around me are Keone, the people around me are Mary, the people around me are my family. You are my family. And that's really ultimately how we build anything. Building it alone or trying to get it with our head or trying to like do all the things. It's harder. It's doable. You can do it. You can definitely like muscle through it and you can do it. But for me personally, I can't do it alone. I have to do it in community. I have to do it with, you know, people I love. I have to be in joy. I have to be in that, you know, mindset. So that's what I got out of all of this, because I'm Roxana. I'm Roxana. I'm totally Roxana. You know, it's so simple. Anyway.
As Dexter says, I'm the captain now. Oh my gosh. The community is hilarious. I love y'all. So, guys, let us move on to the outro, y'all. Really powerful share. Pape, thank you guys. so much for that. Everyone, thank you so much for your contributions. Roxana, incredible story, and we're so excited for you on this journey. So as we say goodbye and adieu for today's broadcast, we want to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you guys by Coors Magic. We want to invite you to connect with us in all the places on the interwebs, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're all there for you. Check us out, follow us. You can find us at We Are the Systm, no E. You can follow me at Keone Chong. You can follow Mary at Mary A. Gribbin. That's 2 B's. And Jose at Jose Caballer, 2 L's. We use the hashtag Coors Magic, and We Are the Systm. And for those of you guys in the audience, drop your socials into the chat now. You know, it's really important that we create a network amongst ourselves and we support each other. So I'm making a commitment right now, Jose, live. We're going to have the Accelerator up next week.
Oh, damn, snap, crackle, pepper. All right. That's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about actually putting together a free circle for just everyone in Design Therapy. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. Reach out to me, DM me, holla at me. We're going to make this happen. And also, for another free community, you can join us on Facebook. Check us out. Our Facebook group is the Core Tribe Brand Strategy Fundamentals. So, you know, this was something that came up recently between Jose and I and building this deck and, you know, kind of showing the differences between all of the kits that we have coming out and how they all come together like Voltron to really build a regenerative culture. So a lot of the work that we've been doing in Design Therapy is going to be related to the Fire Kit. And it's really about starting. It's about your purpose, skills, and values. Why do you do it? What do you do? And how do you do it? And we have Core, which is about alignment for the brand. It is about the essence of who you are, business goals, and your customer needs. Then ultimately, we have Flow, which is about collaboration. It's about your objectives, results, and tasks. It's what you are aiming to achieve. It is the tangible results, and it is the actions that you take to achieve it. So again, you can check us out at Coors Magic right now. And we always ask you to like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you this awesome, empowering majesty. We're not going to call it content, we're going to call it majesty. And here we are, y'all. Music and no cookies. So the floor is open. Thoughts, comments, concerns, randoms, memes, jokes.
Memes. I just want to say that the Adriana artwork is on point, man. It is so on point. It is the portal jump. It is the circle. It is like all the things. Arsena J is rocking it. Also, our podcast is coming out, and it's actually, this is looking a little bit like our podcast. I don't know if I think the portal stole Arsena J. We lost Arsena J in a portal. Hey, wait, has anybody seen Arsena J? Oh my God, we lost him in a portal. Somebody got to try to go recover him. It happens when you jump, for sure. Yep. We've lost a few of you when we jump into breakout rooms. Got lost once. I'm like, I don't know, where did I land? But that happens, man, when you're a pirate baller. Oh my God. Jaja, so good to see you. It's good to see new people. I know that when you join Eduardo, Milka, Brahim. Oh man, it's so good to see you, Milka. I don't know how long you've been here. Say hi. Ewart, you're amazing.
Hi.
Hi. How long have you been here watching?
About half an hour. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. So, but this is awesome. I'm glad to finally catch this. Jose is one of my awesome friends from Art Center. So We're very lucky to have him in our community, giving back so much. Thank you, Jose, for all your contributions.
Aw, thanks, love. So nice. Yeah, we go back. Oh my God. Years. Cassie, you know, your comment about what part of the story sharing, or like in general, I think at the beginning, you know, we should do that as a practice, like figuring out that circle, Keone, that you're talking about. Would be great to just start with the stories.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how you get all these things. Papa, can you do I know how to do a background, but doing the pirate hat and stuff, how do you do it?
Okay, you go to, instead of the virtual background, there's another that says video filter.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, video.
And I don't know how Richard has all of those amazing ones. Like, I have no idea how he got those, but yeah.
You can upload them. You can create your own custom ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Yeah.
Video filters. I can't find them, but maybe I need to install the latest version of Zoom.
Yeah. So, video filters right here, right next to virtual backgrounds.
Oh. Got it. I definitely need to install.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Eduardo, hope you enjoyed today.
Yeah, guys.
Cousin Marlene, it's good to see you.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, we're saying goodbye. Today was a little bit longer than typical, but it was very heavy content and really wrapping up the story, our stories. So, guys, you know, connect wherever you guys are. Just a reminder, we are the Systm. And as we say goodbye with much love. Mucho amor. Uwaini. We love y'all. Take care, y'all. Peace.
Gracias. Yo.
Bye. Thank you, Roxana.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
guys.
chicos. Thank you, Rox.
Bye. See you Wednesday.
See you guys Wednesday.
Adios.
Adios.
Adios. Hasta luego.
Laters.
Ciao.
Gator.
Paz.
God,
Later,
we gotta go
Gators.
back to work.
Peace out, players.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.